Hey guys, what's up, and welcome back to another installment of Ghost Recon Phantom's Open Discussion. Today I'm going to be talking about silencers, a topic near and dear to my heart, sort of, for reasons I'm about to explain. Because what I want to talk about is what I just call in this game silencer madness. Now, as of patch, I believe 1.2.3 or 1.2.2, don't quote me on either one of those or both, silencers in this game have effectively become almost useless in every regard. Now, despite this, if you play the game, you'll see all sorts of people, recons, assault supports, running around with guns with silencers. I'm talking about light machine guns, assault rifles, SMGs, and of course, sniper rifles. Now, let me first tell you what silencers, the two things that silencers do for you after these patches, and then I'll tell you what they used to do and why these days it's insane, or rather absurd, to use a silencer on almost any gun. So, what silencers do is they get rid of muzzle flash. That's one thing. So this is a non-detachable, the OC14 Watchdog silencer. It gets rid of muzzle flash. You can see no muzzle flash, just a bit of steam coming out, if you will, some smoke. Yeah, that's what that does. That's what a silencer does. And the other thing it does, if you have a silencer, is it prevents enemies from locking you down if you happen to be using the gunshot detector, which I think is highly inferior to the motion detector. But hey, even as a sniper, I think it's inferior. So those are the two things that a silencer does for you. It eliminates muzzle flash, and it prevents enemies from locking down your position with a gun detector. Okay. What silencers used to do, in addition to that, would be add accuracy. Let me show you what silencers now do. Let's take a gun, a fine gun, such as the AK-200M, and let's see what happens to the stats when we put a silencer on it. Now, I use this super duper muzzle brake, the MBFS 012T muzzle brake, right? I hate recoil. And I'll put a silencer on it. What happens? The damage goes from 61 to 57, and I lose 4 points of control. And my ready time increases a little bit as well. Very interesting. But wait, now I don't have any muzzle flash anymore. Isn't that great? That's fantastic. Right? No muzzle flash. Except, if you really care that much about muzzle flash, you can just use a flash suppressor, and the only thing you lose is control, and you don't even gain ready time. So if I really cared a lot about muzzle flash, which I don't, and I'll explain why in a bit. Now, look. No muzzle flash. And also no loss of damage, and no increase in ready time. You see, what silencers do now is they increase your ready time, they reduce your damage, and they reduce your control. What a fantastic offer. It used to be that silencers gave the gun more accuracy. That is not true. Look at what happens to this beautiful gun when you put a silencer on it. You lose a whopping 4 points of damage. That's a lot of DPS loss, and you lose control. Now, it's a matter of preference whether or not you go for a muzzle brake or a flash suppressor. I'm someone who dislikes recoil, and the muzzle flash never really bothered me. I think people just get hung up on it, and they let themselves be distracted by muzzle flash, which I've never had an issue with personally, and to this day, it just doesn't really bother me at all. But whatever, different folks, different strokes. But you see, the problem with the silencer is the ready time increases, you lose damage, and the higher the damage, the base damage of the weapon, the more damage you lose, and you lose control. So if your real issue is muzzle flash, then use instead of a muzzle brake, use a flash suppressor, right? Every weapon, you can put on every weapon, and it works beautifully, and so on. Now, obviously, in the case of a weapon such as the WDG, the OC-14, it's unremovable. You can't. I mean, you can't get rid of it. It's part of the weapon, so I use it. Whatever. And because it's an SD weapon, it has higher base damage anyway. Okay, that's great. Now, that's just the way it is. In the case of the ASFAL, the ASFAL, it's integrated. It's part of the gun. So yeah, I use it too. And there's no muzzle flash. Okay, but that never bothered me to begin with. So really, what we're dealing with here is a phenomenon of mass delusion when it comes to silencers. It's a phenomenon, I think, that reminds me of a placebo effect. I mean, people I've talked to in game and outside of game tell me that it makes them sneaky, or it makes them harder to detect. Now, that's true with a gun detector, but I'm trying to think of the number of situations in game that I've been involved in where being detected actually, or not being detected, actually made a difference for me being my performance or being killed. I can't think of a single one. That is to say, I can't think of a single instance where a silencer might have helped me get out of a situation. And yes, I've seen silencers on everything. I mean, people are putting silencers on this beautiful gun, the AN-94, and let's see what happens here with the silencer. What happens with the silencer? Oh, big surprise, you lose 2 points of damage, you lose 2 points of control, and your ready time goes up. Hey, but you're sneaky, right? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense from a rational perspective. It's all just a question of feeling, and, well, I feel sneaky, and everyone suffers from this, unfortunately. Or not everyone, but so many people do. They say, you should put a silencer on that. Even on a sniper rifle. Where you can argue, yeah, I guess it's kind of important. I'd rather not take the massive loss in damage. I mean, let's look at a sniper rifle that does a massive amount of damage. It's the incredibly slow reload time, but fire rate rather, 173. But you put a silencer on it, and what happens? Boom. I mean, you lose 9 points of damage, and ready time goes up. And you could argue, on a sniper rifle, it's kind of important, but I mean, especially with SMGs, it becomes really critical in my opinion. I mean, you lose 2 points of damage on a weapon with very low damage per bullet to begin with, and even more control. And yeah, I mean, that's great. So yeah, you have your silencer and whatever. Now, it might be in the future that they will increase the damage again, or the damage was never increased, rather put accuracy bonuses back into silencers. But as of now, after the patches I mentioned, silencers have no real application. Now, what is the source of this? I mean, the source of this, I think, ultimately is something very common, and you see this in sporting activities, sports, is basically a lot of people who play this game who do well rely on raw talent, and they understand next to nothing about the game mechanics. That's just a sad fact of life. They're just really good shots. They can shoot things well. They don't really even know how to use devices particularly well, but they shoot things. And I hate to say it, people might disagree, but a large number of the 5-star generals out there, even the top ones, are just really good at shooting things. So an example of this is a guy I played with and against, this text member, Safira. I played a few matches with him, but more matches against him. And he played Recon every time, and when he was on my team, I saw one brief scan for himself. He almost never scanned, and playing against him, I was never scanned by him. Actually, Saphir is a terrible Recon, but he's exceptionally good at shooting things. That's all he can do. He can shoot things well. This is a perfect example of a quote-unquote top player who is just very good at shooting things, very good at positioning himself, but has no clue how to use devices efficiently. And I'm not saying he uses silencers, and in his case, I don't think he does. But this is very, very common. A lot of the top players don't understand anything about game mechanics, and I'm not besmirching them or saying anything beyond that, but they just rely on their raw talent and oftentimes their youth. I mean, I'm pushing 40. A lot of the top players, obviously all of them are really young. You're not going to find someone in their late 30s who is a top player because, well, it's almost a physical impossibility. So, on a final note, You shouldn't be using silencers. Yes, you really shouldn't be, because they really only provide disadvantages. If you're really concerned about muzzle flash, use a flash suppressor. I have a friend who does that. Mick does that. You don't want to be reducing the damage of your gun. You're putting yourself at a disadvantage. Unless you, for some whatever reason, you enjoy doing less damage and you enjoy losing control, there's no reason to use a silencer on any gun, not even a sniper. It doesn't matter if your position is revealed or not. If you're a good sniper, you'll be able to take out the target regardless. Anyway, a bit of a rant, but I needed to get that off my chest. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you enjoy this sort of thing. And your likes are appreciated. Everyone take care, and bye-bye.